I actually hit these for retail on Ma Manie's site. I was actually surprised. And then I did see that they are going to be available on sneakers soon. So hopefully people are able to get them. I'm not really sure. At least hopefully people that want them. Hey, what's going on, guys? My name's Chris. Welcome back to the official WearTesters.com YouTube channel. Today we got a detailed look and breakdown on the latest Ma Manie and Air Jordan collab. This is the Air Jordan 3 and what's being called the Diffused Blue colorway, or if you are looking at the sneakers landing page, they are called For the Love. Ooh. Now, before we deep dive into the shoes, Since Apparel has a brand new launch. This Since the 2000 hoodie is part of it. If you are interested in grabbing anything, sizes are selling quickly. So head over to SinceApparel.com, links down below in the description box before it's too late. Now, as for the shoes, I love this outsole. I just do. It looks so good. The Nike branding on there. I was gonna say, like, I usually complain about this. I don't really see it as a complaint. I see it more as a critique. But it's one of those things where the Nike branding has been reserved typically for OG colors and collabs only. And I always thought that using them on collabs is weird because clearly they're not an original product. They're not an original colorway. They don't tell original stories half the time either, which this one doesn't, you know what I mean? It's like personal to Ma Manie and that group and things like that. So I've always been like, man, why can't they just put the Nike Air branding on everything at this point? And it looks like that they are going to start doing that. There's the Flight Club Jordan 4s coming out. Now, as far as the technology is concerned, the shoe itself features a polyurethane midsole with an encapsulated 4-foot air sole unit and a visible one in the rear. The paint application is really interesting. Obviously, there's sail on here. Some people are gonna love that, some people are gonna hate it, but it's the diffused blue that not only looks like really cool, it's like got a matte finish, but it's got a weird kind of texture to it. So yeah, it's really interesting the way that they've done it. The application is quite unique and it looks pretty dope. Now, as far as the upper is concerned, it's all quality everything. There is this little tag that's on here and it just says, please note, due to the suede characteristics, please be aware there is potential for color contamination to the upper and bottom unit. Basically, what they're trying to let you know is that the suede that they used on the eye stay and the heel and toe are actual suede panels. The dye in there already looks kind of faded, like they're supposed to be black. At least I'm pretty sure they are. They look kind of gray. And the color can migrate, whether that's to the leather itself, to the midsole, or it could just fade over time, which we've seen a lot with suede shoes or suede Jordans in general. So that's all that little tag is warning you about, is just that, hey, we actually use good shit, and this is what happens to good shit, is that sometimes it gets up.
It happens.
I do think that that's one of the areas where people might not like it. Sometimes they just are like, yeah, I do not like 3s without elephant print. And then some people are like, yeah, the 3s look great without elephant print. It looks like an elevated shoe depending on the material that they use. And that's how I feel with these. They look like an elevated version of an Air Jordan 3. I personally think that it looks fantastic. And plus you can't go wrong with like actual suede and stuff. It looks great. It feels great. It wears great. It's great stuff. The leather itself is slightly tumbled or textured, so it almost looks like an original pair, but clearly different colorway and different stuff. The tongue is interesting because they are altered, much like the past Ma Manie Air Jordan 3 releases. Not only do they feature co-branding, depending on the tongue that you're looking at, they're also kind of like 3D or puff stitched. I don't know how to explain it, but it just comes off the shoe a lot more. It's not flat. They also don't have the traditional lining that's tucked under and then sewn. Instead, it's just a raw cut edge, and then behind it, you've got lots of padding and a silky liner, whereas the rest of the liner is quilted. Much like the insole that they used. The insole is interesting too because it's layered. So not only do you have this diffused blue leather top layer with this really cool patch on the heel, but you also have two different types of foams. One is this shiny black stuff that you see, and then in between that and the top layer is just a cheap open-celled foam. It's this gray layer. It's not that good, but when you sandwich it all together, it is what it is. And by the way, the black layer is dream cell, just in case you guys were wondering. It's just very thin. Now, much like the tongue, the collar area is also just raw cut, so it's not like a traditional or standard pair of shoes where everything is like tucked and sewn and really clean and things like that. It's just very raw, kind of rugged looking. And then on the rear, you actually have Nike Air branding on both shoes. It's not co-branded like the front. And then if you look behind the flap on each tab, it does tell you a small message. As far as extras and add-ons, instead of the plastic keychain, we actually just have this little cardboard one, but it does have the Nike Air keychain in there. They also come with an extra set of laces, which I think is interesting because they look just like the laces that are already in there. Oh, I guess they're slightly sailed. As far as sizing is concerned, they do fit true to size. Whatever you typically wear with your Air Jordan 3s, that is exactly what I would recommend. And with all of that being said, what is today's user submitted question of the day?
If you could write any comic series, which would it be? Assume you've been given free reign and don't have to respect any continuity you don't want to.
To write?
Yeah, you get to do a whole comic story.
But I'm not really a good storyteller.
You tell stories great. What are you talking about?
I tell events that actually happened. You know what I mean? I'm not like a make something up and like make it cool. I like the stories that are told to me, or the stories that I read. That's why I like movies and comics so much, because they're fun. I guess you can do like a fan theory type thing. That'd be, I guess, cool.
Well, I mean,
you know what I mean?
Technically, fan
like
theory is.
And I do understand the question, like, oh, if you can any series, like, what would you do and go? And that's the thing. I don't know, because I never thought about it. That's like one of those like hard to answer on the spot questions.
This person used to work in a comic book store, and so they're saying that this was like a
topic of discussion all the time. Yeah, that's what I mean by fan theories, is that like, you know, the videos that I watch, or just the conversations that I have with friends and stuff like that, when it's about this type of subject matter, like, it's always like, well, what would you do? And so it's like, oh yeah, I would have loved to have seen this or whatever. But that's building off of a story that already exists. That's the thing. What would you do and what is it? I don't know. There's stories that are so good already, you know? Like, my thought initially is like Power Rangers, which sounds weird, but it is a comic book series, and it's a really good one. And that's why I'm like, I don't know, because what they did is awesome, you know? Like the new ones. I'm not talking about the original comics, but I'm talking about like the Boom Studios comics. Those were sick. My other thing would be like Batman and Robin, you know what I'm saying? Like Dick Grayson Robin. And then like, I don't know, like I would keep the Bane origin, but then where would I go after that? Like, I'm not sure, you know what I mean? But it would be fun to like write for those characters. Spider-Man would be cool, but at the same time, it's like, he's supposed to be like tragic and relatable. Maybe Spider-Man 2099, that'd be kind of cool. Just because then you really do have free reign. It's like, it's the future. You could do whatever you want.
Well, this person picked Daredevil.
Oh, he had his own? Why don't you lead with that?
They said, I'd probably go with Daredevil, as he's the character I know the best, and there's always room to put Matt through some more.
That's what I mean with Spider-Man. But like, how much worse for that guy can it get? He's already lost everything multiple times in every iteration, all the way down to the video games. That PlayStation 4 Spider-Man game had me almost in tears at the end. What a great story. I would rather draw, like if I still drew, yeah, right? Mm-hmm. If I still did that stuff, I would rather draw like a series, and Spider-Man might be it. Like, Spider-Man would be really fun. Although Daredevil would be killer, but that would be kind of easy because it's like dark. You could just hide everything. It's kind of fun to think about though. Like, would you do Superman?
That's the opposite of everything you just said about it being fun.
Why?
Drawing it.
Oh, no, I'm not talking about drawing. I'm going back to the writing the story.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because like with Superman, like, I wouldn't say like the world's open, but like you could kind of do anything. Some of the Elseworld stuff is some of the greatest stories ever told. I don't know. I don't do this stuff. You know what I mean? Like I said, I will tell someone else's story, and I'll do it the best that I can.
You'll do a great job.
Thank you. But what about you guys? If you could pick, you said one title, or is it character? Or is that the same thing?
Any comic series.
Okay, so title. Mm-hmm. So one comic book title, and you could write whatever it is that you would want. If you actually wanted to detail out some of the plot points, that'd be cool. Although, maybe don't.
You should keep that to yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Keep that to yourself. And maybe you'll get rich one day. Who knows? Sound off below and let us know who or which title it would be about. And on top of all of that, are you interested in the Ma Manie Air Jordan 3s, or are you just kind of like, no, I'm over this? Just give me OG colorways only? Or do you like the way that all this stuff looks? Do you like elevated versions of things? I personally do. I think that this is fun, so long as they're attainable. But with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here. We'll catch you guys in the next one. So until then, y'all have a good one.